Hi friends, how are you? I'm Nicole and this is Crimes with Cole. So, hello. How are you guys doing today? I hope you all are having an amazing day and are ready for another crazy crime story. In today's case, we're going to be talking about a case that is so frustrating because it makes you question, how could someone do this if they loved this person they were with? How can you just sit back and watch the person you love spiral out of control after you were the one who originally encouraged it? This case just really, it has me questioning, how can anyone not see through all the lies? How were so many people able to just turn a blind eye to it? You'll see what I mean, and I'm dying to know what you think. So let's get into today's case. This is the case of Lisa Buchanan. Lisa was a beautiful young lady. She was an aspiring model and actress, and she had the looks on top of the perfect personality for it. She was a very attractive young lady, and although she had the perfect combination that could have really made it big on the big screen, something just never seemed to click for Lisa. She never had her breakthrough moment into the modeling or actress world. But Lisa also had some insecurities that no one had saw, and they left her feeling a type of way. She had a failed marriage, and out of that failed marriage, she had a beautiful little girl named Jessie. But, that left Lisa brokenhearted and devastated that at such a young age in her life, it just wasn't going the way that she thought it would have gone. But that all changed in 2000 when Lisa had met Dr. Chris Collis. Dr. Collis was a graduate from Vanderbilt University and had his own thriving practice time he was in his 30s. He served some of his internships in Chicago, and he loved working in the emergency room due to just the excitement and the high energy of saving people's lives who needed it. They came in with this emergency medical need, and he was there to give it to them. But when he had met Lisa, he was well into working at his own practice, which was a plastic surgery practice. He was charming and good looking, and he really seemed to be the perfect catch for Lisa. She had came into his office for a consultation, and the two just had instant chemistry. Soon after the two officially became a couple, Lisa, along with her daughter Jessie, had moved into Chris's house. Over the years of being together, Dr. Collis had performed multiple surgeries on Lisa for free, some of which had include, lip filler and Botox. She had her breast redone, her eyelids and forehead, along with some liposuction and a full face laser and, some more cosmetic procedures. Not that she needed any of it, but remember, she had her own insecurities, and her boyfriend's a plastic surgeon. But Dr. Collis wasn't just this charming, good-looking plastic surgeon boyfriend to Lisa. He had a controlling side that no one saw. And he would call Lisa constantly to check up on her, find out where she was and what she had been doing. He would travel often for work, practicing in other cities. But during his time away, he would call Lisa, accusing her of being unfaithful. There were times where she would have to hand the phone over to her mother. This grown woman in her early 30s would have to hand her phone over to her mother so that her mother could tell him, Lisa's at my house with Jessie. There is no one else here. She's not doing what you are claiming that she's doing. And I just could not imagine being in a relationship like that. But this is how it was for them. And, this went on for years. And slowly, Chris started alienating Lisa from her friends, cutting off all communication and trying to just really keep her to himself as much as possible. And this is when Chris started introducing Lisa into this world of using substances to help enhance their sexual experiences with one another. During this time also, her family noticed that Lisa was getting sick a lot more than she used to before Chris had came around. There was this one incident that really tuned in to the secretive side of Chris and Lisa's relationship. In 2002, just 2 years into their relationship, Chris and Lisa had been living together at this time, and Chris was going through a hard time and decided to turn to substances to help alleviate some of the overwhelming stress that he had been experiencing. He had decided to inject himself with Demerol and says that he was instantly addicted. Demerol is a controlled substance that is used to treat moderate to severe pain. Remember, he's a plastic surgeon, he's a doctor, he has access to this. As Chris continued to inject himself frequently to get high, he ended up getting Lisa addicted in the process. And I mean, he was using this stuff daily. His behaviors started to change. He wasn't as productive as he once was, and he just wasn't himself anymore. He claims he is the one who decided that he wanted to get clean, and he asked his parents for help. They came and they took him to a rehab facility, and Lisa had stayed behind. So this man had decided that he needs to get clean, but to leave behind his girlfriend, who he knows damn well is addicted to substances too. By the grace of God, somebody called Lisa's mother, Peggy, and told Peggy she needed to go over to the house and check on Lisa. When Peggy arrived to Lisa's house, she walked in to see her daughter lying on a mattress, incoherent, with marks all over her body from where she had been injected. Syringes and empty bottles just scattered all over the floor. It was awful. Peggy and her friend, who happened to be with her, grabbed Lisa and grabbed some of the empty bottles and rushed her to the hospital. She had been injected in both hands, her arms, her groin area, and her feet. Her hands and feet were swelled up twice the normal size they usually are because of infection. She had sores all over. When Officer Pete had asked Lisa about this, Lisa had said that Chris was the one who had injected her, that he would chase her around and inject her against her will. Lisa's daughter, Jessie, also had a very vivid memory of seeing her mother being injected by Chris with some sort of substance. She remembers after she saw Chris inject her, she had collapsed and Chris shut the bathroom door so Jessie couldn't see anything else. Chris would call Lisa a hypochondriac whenever she would complain about any sort of pain she was having, whether it be because of an injection site or because, just of a side effect, like, her chest would start hurting from the substances being used and it was hard for her to breathe. And he would convince her that, this is just for fun. It's to enhance their sexual experiences together and everyone is having a great time. Because of this, Chris was charged with 20 different drug-related charges. However, Lisa stopped cooperating with the police and the case started to crumble. He ended up pleading guilty to one of the charges and was given probation with no jail time. After his probation period, he returned to practicing medicine. Isn't that just crazy? To think your doctor, of all people, could be a secret addict. The ones who we trust to take care of our medical needs. Scary. So Lisa and Chris ended up working things out. Chris really had Lisa convinced that she would lose Jessie and had told her a bunch of other lies that really just messed with her mind. No one could understand why she was staying with this man. As their relationship carried on, so did their usage. So when the weekend of the 4th of July in 2005 came, Lisa had made it up in her mind that she wanted to end things with Chris for good. She was over it, all the fighting, the enhanced sexual pleasures that he always wanted to engage in, just the entire relationship as a whole, I think, she realized was more damaging than anything for her and her daughter. That weekend, the two had spent the weekend together at Lisa's apartment. During this weekend, the two engaged in sexual relations while under the influence. And because of the substances used and the amount that was used, Lisa unfortunately ended up passing away. She passed away from a heart attack. Her family was devastated and blamed Chris, naturally, because he was the one who introduced her to this whole new world of enhanced and heightened pleasures that she had never experienced before. And Chris has admitted that he was the one to introduce Lisa to this, but that she was the one who became the addict. And that addiction is a personal choice. You can't accept blame for someone else getting addicted. During the trial, a very intimate home videotape was played of the two in the apartment that weekend together. And you could see how impaired Lisa was. There was no way anyone could say any different without it being a lie. She was completely under the influence. The defense argued that Lisa was indeed an addict and had injected herself even when Chris wasn't around, that Chris loved her and wanted her to get better, yet why wasn't he cutting off her supply or forcing her to go to rehab? They argued that because Lisa had passed away from a heart attack, that it wasn't a drug overdose, according to the medical examiner. It was due to, buildup in her lungs, which clogged the blood vessels and prevented the heart from getting blood, and then it stops. And this happens over a long period of time. It isn't just occasional use, it's constant usage. And essentially that her body couldn't handle it anymore. That Chris, yes, he introduced her, but he wasn't forcing her to take the substances. She had continued to take them on her own and became addicted. And he certainly wasn't the one who gave her the fatal dose that weekend. The prosecution, however, would come back and argue how Chris did, in fact, neglect his medical duties of being a doctor and left his girlfriend, who was high on oxy, lying in the bed week after week. He knew what she was doing, and he's a doctor. He should have done something other than just, love her to death, because now she isn't here. They said there's no way that Lisa injected herself that weekend. And if you could see her in this home video and see how aligned her injection sites were along her groin, there's no way that she herself could have done that. And I mean this kindly when I say this, but if this woman was able to inject herself in a perfect straight line in her groin area while being so impaired, she cannot sit up straight. I mean, she has some steady hands. What they were debating was, did Chris inject Lisa, or did she inject herself during this fatal weekend? And although Chris openly admitted he introduced Lisa to this lifestyle, there's still no way to prove that he did or did not, without unreasonable doubt, give Lisa her final injection that weekend. The jurors took less than 1 day to deliberate and reached a verdict of not guilty for second-degree murder. Not guilty for reckless homicide, but guilty to criminally neglect homicide. He faces a fraction of what he would be facing had he been found guilty for murder. Imagine being Lisa's daughter, living with this man, watching him inject your mother with some sort of substance, then seeing your mother just collapse on the ground because of it, and then you have to sit in this courtroom and hear the jury say not guilty to the murder of your mother when you know damn well what was going on behind closed doors. Chris was sentenced to 2 years in prison, but he was also given a $500,000 bond, which his parents paid. So while Chris's attorneys were appealing this case, Chris was able to stay at home. However, 5 years later, after Lisa's death, with Chris's appeal still pending, Chris was discovered dead himself at a friend's apartment. The cause of death was bronchial pneumonia due to opiate intoxication. Basically an overdose, just like Lisa. So I don't think anyone really got justice in this case. I think karma may have been served, but I don't think there was any justice. And poor Jessie, God bless her, is still left without her mom. And Lisa's family is left without her beautiful smile and just her radiant glow and her energy that she would always bring. And although Chris had dirty habits himself that got the best of him, his parents and family lost him too. It's a very sad case, but it really makes you sit back and think twice that addiction does not discriminate. It can consume any one of us at any time. But that is all I have for today. You'll have to let me know what you guys think. And until next time, please remember to be safe, and I will see you then. Bye.